We begin this morning in the Middle East and Operation Epic Fury.
The sirens sounding in Israel earlier this morning as Iran vows to ramp up its retaliatory strikes after one of their key oil sites were hit.
Chief Foreign Correspondent Trey Yingst joins us now from Tel Aviv with the latest. What's the latest there on the ground, Trey?
Yeah, hey guys, good morning. After the 8th round of incoming Iranian ballistic missiles since midnight, we do have some new video to show you of an impact this morning in central Israel. This video shows a cluster impact in Tel Aviv. You can see on the security camera provided by the Israeli police this explosion. No one was injured in this particular impact, but there are reports of injuries on the outskirts of Tel Aviv after an apartment was hit by one of these cluster munitions. Overnight, missile interceptors soared through the skies of central Israel, shooting down some of this incoming fire. It's been a difficult evening for the Israeli people who spent much of their time in bomb shelters amid these new incoming Iranian attacks. A deputy police spokesperson talking about what happened overnight.
As a result of the missile impact, it caused fire on several vehicles and damages to several buildings. Together with the forces of the Home Front Command, the MDA service, and the security forces at this stage, we found that 3 people were lightly wounded. At the moment, we are working to inspect the inside buildings to see that there are no one trapped inside and, of course, sealing off the scene.
Now, this comes as the Israelis are launching new strikes against the Iranian regime. You can see this video from Friday. They are hammering the Islamic Republic and many of these launching positions and the stockpiles of ballistic missiles. International attention remains focused on the Persian Gulf and the Strait of Hormuz, where the Iranians are still issuing new threats about this critical thoroughfare.
The
Strait of Hormuz will not be open to shipping. Not a single American Navy vessel will be allowed to enter the Persian Gulf. The presence of America in the Persian Gulf has been the main cause of insecurity over the past 50 years. It is not possible to establish security in the region without America's exit from the Persian Gulf.
The Iranians are talking and the Americans are striking. U.S. Central Command releasing this video from Friday showing Karg Island, where up to 95% of Iran's crude oil is processed. Significant strikes there. President Trump telling media over the weekend, we totally demolished Karg Island, but we may hit it a few more times just for fun. We've totally decimated it. We do expect a ramp up in U.S. and Israeli strikes in the hours and days ahead. We've seen many of the refueler planes overhead as they are making sure these jets have the ability to strike targets deep inside of Iran. Guys?
All right. Trey Yingst, live for us in Tel Aviv. Trey, thank you very much.
Thanks, Trey.
And with that, let's bring in Fox News Sunday anchor and Fox News chief legal correspondent Shannon Bream. And Shannon, you saw Trey's report there, but back here at home, we've had 4 different terror-related attacks in New York, in Michigan, in Texas, in Virginia, and yet you have DHS funding still not being done. Democrats, with the exception of John Fetterman, everyone is holding out. Chuck Schumer doesn't seem to realize that this sentiment is growing, that DHS needs to do its core mission of security for the homeland. What do you make of what's going to happen in Washington this week?
Yeah, and we are now asking more than 100,000 employees within DHS and its various agencies to show up to work without a paycheck. And of course, we consider them essential. They are. So we're asking a lot of these people. And I'm going to be asking Congressman Jim Himes and Congressman Mike McCall today what their plan is on Fox News Sunday to get this thing moving, because Democrats and Republicans alike have been sounding the alarm over the last few years through various administrations, saying that the threat level we have now here on the homeland is so over the top. You remember Christopher Wray, when he was heading up the FBI, said that there were flashing red lights everywhere. That has not changed.
No.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's interesting, too, because you see that the administration is going to put Mark Wayne Mullen up for this the hearing. Do you think that will speed things up? And also, you know, with the war in play and these terrorist attacks that you're talking about right now, we looked at some polling showing that the country is pretty split on 60% believe that Iran is definitely a threat, 61%, 50% say that we should go to war. The other 50% say no, according to this poll that we just looked at this morning. a terrorist attack would really set those polls, those numbers in the wrong direction for the president. So really imperative ahead of this election for President Trump to make sure that the homeland is secure, and the funding is a big part of that.
Yeah, and we all know that the folks who work DHS and all those agencies within that umbrella are working 24/7 to make sure that not one bad dude or cell falls through the gaps and creates havoc. As you said, we've already lost people who have been killed in the last month or so through various attacks here on the homeland, but we're always having to be aware. And we have since 9/11, the creation of DHS, about those problems here. You mentioned Markwayne Mullin. Okay, he's a senator now. I think that makes him a little bit more palatable in going through this confirmation process. These are his friends. They know him. We don't expect, unless there's some crazy bombshell we don't know about, I don't think he's going to have any problems this week. So can he then maybe reset this conversation like, okay, you guys on the left did not like Secretary Noem. There's a new chapter here. Can we restart these talks and move forward?
Yeah, that would be a very good development if that were the case.
Yeah, so the big picture is you have the administration has replaced the DHS secretary. You've got new tactics. You've got Republicans agreeing to the idea of agents wearing body cameras. There has been a lot of give on that side, and yet it does not appear that there is any pressure among Democrats to actually do something about it.
Well, and that's the question. So you mentioned the body cams. ICE is fully funded. We know that. The money for the body cams already there. Money for de-escalation training already there. As Senator Fetterman said on our air this weekend, this isn't touching ICE. If you're going to argue about DHS, you're telling people to go to work without paychecks for something that's not even part of your conversation. So both sides are pointing at each other to, you know, who's being blamed. But I literally ask all over Washington, I don't even know who's talking to each other. I mean, we saw that interaction between Schumer and Thune on the Senate floor a couple of days ago, and that was really kind of the only negotiation we've heard. Now, things could be happening behind the scenes, maybe making progress. And again, maybe if Senator Mullin becomes Secretary Mullin, he can restart this in a different way. But right now, I don't see the off-ramps.
Yeah, well, we saw that Senator Slotkin in Michigan has come out and now said, okay, we should fund it after the fact that there was a terrorist attack
after she just voted against funding it. Yeah. Also, you got Ambassador Waltz coming up.
We do. Ambassador Waltz. We'll talk to him about the Strait of Hormuz, about getting our hands on the enriched uranium we think Iran has. So we'll talk to him about that. We've got military experts to walk us through the big board and exactly where we are. So with the panel, it's going to be a busy show.
Yeah, it sounds like a great show. Thank you, Shannon.
Thanks, guys.
For watching.
Thanks,
Shannon.
I'm Steve Ducey.
I'm Brian Kilmeade.
And I'm Ainsley Earhart. And click here to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page to catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis.